Oliver Gordon. I'm here today to interview Alfred Ngaro, if that's how to say your name properly.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Ollie.
Under the National Skills and Training Workforce policy, we found no mention of a plan for people living with a disability. We would like equal employment opportunities. Where is your plan?
Thank you, Ollie. That's a very good question. That plan can be found around the disability part, which is under the health section of our manifesto. It talks about the fact is that we believe in equal opportunities for those in the disability community. We were the ones that started up Enabling Good Lives, and that's an opportunity for those in the disability community to have the choice and control over the funding that goes into their lives, but also too, that then stretches out to the work that we have supported, Accessibility Tick, and the Disability Employment Action Plan. And that means working with employers to make sure that they provide greater opportunities for those in the disability community as well. We've also too been very clear. We support under the Accessibility Tick the 9 areas of competency to help employers provide a workspace that is fit for purpose, that allows for the disability community to be able to be engaged, to be employed, and have equal opportunities as anyone else.
In 2014, your leader resigned her cabinet positions following a leak of an email suggesting she attempted to undermine the director of the Serious Fraud Office. Why should we trust her?
Yeah, so I can't comment on all the details around that and to say whether that all those comments were exactly true. What I do know is that Judith Collins is a person that has been robust, that has put herself out there, that is leading the party because she has the confidence of the party. And at the same time too, when people know of Judith Collins, for instance, they know that she's a woman of her word and she's got the name Crusher, because when it came to standing against crime, against victims, and especially in regards to boy races and other areas, she's not afraid to tell people as it is and to speak out against things that are wrong and to encourage those things that are right as well. So she's a person that I believe that's worthy of consideration because she has a lot of attributes that I believe people respect and acknowledge as well. She means what she says and she says what she means, and a lot of people like that, especially in politicians.
Why is there no representation of people with intellectual disabilities in the parliament?
Ollie, that's a very good question. And I believe the fact is that when we had Mojo Mathers, she was the first person who had a disability that had become a member of parliament. And I think that there was something we all acknowledged and celebrated. We had to shift and change parliament to accommodate for her particular impairment and disability, especially around her ability to hear. I think there was an opportunity that I believe that the Green Party missed when they didn't continue to put her high up on the list. And it was a disappointment that they didn't continue to support Mojo Mathers in her role as a member of parliament. And I agree with you. I've made this commitment that if there are people in our disability community who look at the values of the National Party and believe they're values that they would support and believe in and would like to consider becoming a member of parliament under the National Party, then I make a promise to support that person, to encourage them and to help them to walk towards the opportunity of becoming a member of parliament. There needs to be more representation in parliament because at the end of the day, Ollie,
Yeah.
Parliament is called the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
If I can just interject, I think it's important to point out that Mojo Mathers didn't have an intellectual disability, and Ollie's question did focus on intellectual disability being represented in the Parliament. So, in fact, Mojo Mathers didn't really represent intellectual disability.
That's all like me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's an issue we're trying to raise here.
Yeah, look, and thank you for that. I suppose it was the only example that I could give that where we allowed for someone with a disability to come into Parliament. And yes, you are absolutely correct. She didn't have an intellectual disability, and we haven't had anyone represented there. But absolutely, I believe that we should have the opportunity for anyone who would like to put themselves forward to enter into Parliament.
We recently asked Global Thompson about the referendum on declaring marijuana. He is in support of the criminalization idea.
So I'm not in support of decriminalising marijuana, and the referendum that's before us in the election is the legalising recreational marijuana, and I'm against that. I'm against it because I believe the evidence shows the harm that could create to young people and to others, not only neurologically, because the science has proven it, but also too, we're struggling as a country to deal with drunk driving, to add on to it drug driving as well, and the impacts that could have, I think could be, could have some really difficult and really bad effects to our community as well. Marijuana use amongst young people is already decreasing in New Zealand. And also too, the argument about the criminal aspect of people having a criminal conviction, that is already, discretion is already given to the police now. And there are fewer and fewer convictions for those people who may have been caught in possession of having marijuana.
It has been reported the national governmental policy lacks inequality that New Zealand government is in serious trouble. Labour has detailed policy. What is the plan?
So I believe that actually our plan over a long time has actually got a lot of credibility. When Maggie Barry was the Minister for Conservation, we put together Predator-Free New Zealand, one of the first countries in the world to be able to do that. And that was to protect our flora, our fauna, our forestry, our other indigenous wildlife from predators such as stoats, rats, and even possums. And so we were, again, one of the first countries to be able to do that. We also, too, were looking at the cleaning up of our waterways, working with farmers and other key stakeholders to ensure that actually our waterways were cleaner. And we've put a huge amount of work into that, dealing with things like previously with carry dieback, which has now become quite prevalent at the moment. But we've had to deal with a number of issues around that. And so National's policies have always been pragmatic, practical, and also not afraid to be courageous in being able to deal with some of the most challenging and difficult environmental issues that we have in our country.
Can we afford to build a second tunnel through Mount Victoria?
We have been big supporters of building that tunnel. Unfortunately, Labor have stopped that. They may have repurposed that, but we've been really clear that those that are in Wellington have been championing and advocating for this for some time with all the congestion and the challenges that they have down there. So our party position is that we support a second tunnel under Mount Victoria.
there have been decisions the national want to deploy the army to protect our borders. Isn't Tessa describe politics, and are you trying to steer us?
That's a very good question, Tessa. The truth is, the army are already involved at the moment trying to protect our borders. They're helping the police in protecting the borders. They're helping out in the quarantine areas where people are having to be isolated. The army are not about scaring. The army are also there because they provide important logistics and support. And also too, they've got the expertise, the experience of knowing what it means to protect the borders, but also too, especially in the quarantining process as well. What we actually said was that we need to have one agency that's in charge rather than multiple different agencies, where at the moment there's a lot of confusion. And you may have heard, Tessa, where on one hand, the government of the day said that they were going to tick everyone that was protecting the border was tested. And then the reality is that they weren't. And then people who were going into hotels, some people, as you know, escaped. And that caused a lot of concern in our community because it meant that there was potential risk again of people contracting this in our communities. We would have one single agency that would involve the police, customs at the border. It would involve the Ministry of Health and health officials, as well as the Army and other defence forces as well, who'd be there to support the protection of the country, especially at our border.